family is grieving after a 3-year-old child was shot tonight outside a store. And we've just learned that child has died.
CBS 2's Christy Fajardo is live in Carson with the late-breaking details. Christy.
Yeah, sadly, now detectives are investigating the shooting death of a 3-year-old child, and there was a desperate attempt to try and save him. And there is evidence of that here where I am standing. This is where the person, whoever that child was with, drove to try to get him help. And deputies actually transferred the boy into a cruiser, and they were all in such a hurry to leave. You can see they left the car doors open. And we want to show you this video. Deputies raced the child to Harbor UCLA, and then those deputies stayed there. The cruisers were still outside the hospital when our crew got there. No doubt the deputies were hoping for the best, but we now know doctors could not save the 3-year-old boy. Take a look at this video. This is where the sheriff's department says the boy was shot outside Nate's liquor store on West Alondra in Compton. It was about 7:45 when it happened. The family left the scene, and we have video of where they ended up, in the parking lot of the Lucky Star Cafe at Central and Walnut in Carson. Deputies at the scene realized how grave the situation was and did not want to wait for an ambulance. They scooped up the child and raced him to the hospital themselves. But as we now know, despite all of their efforts, the child has died. Now, back out here live at this hour, there are detectives at 3 scenes here at the liquor store and also at the hospital. No doubt they will want to interview the person the child was with to try to get more information on who might have done
News
this.
in Compton, where we have new information about the shooting death of a 3-year-old boy. That little boy was shot last night outside of a liquor store. Now, the boy was hit in the parking lot of that store on West Alondra Boulevard. CBS and Kevaughn 9's Lori Perez is live at the sheriff's station. Lori, have you learned what prompted the shooting?
Amy, we have not yet, but deputies do say it appears to be a gang-related shooting that ended in a tragic death with the most innocent of victims. Deputies themselves here tried desperately to save the little boy, racing him to the hospitals where doctors tried but could not save him. Now, deputies say it appears the 3-year-old boy, as you said, was a bystander to an argument between 2 men in the parking lot outside a liquor store on West Alondra Boulevard. Investigators say that fight started just before 7:45 last night, and when one of the men got into his girlfriend's car, they say someone shot at him. After the man and girlfriend took off in the car, they realized the toddler was hit, and they pulled over in front of a restaurant about 2 miles away in Carson near South Central Avenue and Walnut Street. The couple called 911, and that's where we're told responding deputies made a quick judgment call, decided they could not wait for an ambulance. They scooped up the little boy and raced to Harbor UCLA Hospital, where deputies stayed to learn the little boy's fate, and where late last night investigators confirmed doctors had pronounced the child dead. This morning, the sheriff's department is releasing little information about the suspected shooter beyond that he was last seen in a dark-colored sedan driving westbound on West Alondra Boulevard in Compton. A very somber investigation has begun here in Compton overnight. Amy, back to you.
All right, thank you.
Are working to get a suspect to turn himself in after a shooting that killed a 3-year-old boy in Compton. CBS 2's Jasmine Veal is live at the scene where there's now a growing memorial. Jasmine?
Yeah, Sharon, I just checked. That suspect still has not surrendered to sheriff deputies who identified him. It has been 2 days, and you see the memorial right behind me, since that 3-year-old boy lost his life here.
Oh, it's so hard. It's so heartbreaking. I feel for the family.
Sandra Griffin didn't know the 3-year-old boy who was struck and killed by gunfire Saturday night in Compton, but says she's heartbroken nonetheless. She came to leave a stuffed animal at this small memorial today.
I have a grandchild. I was like, oh my God. So I had to bring something from short memorial speech or something. Oh God, it's hurt me so bad. It's so sad.
Community activists, the victim's family and friends organized a vigil last night in the same liquor store parking lot on Alondra, where the child was shot while in the back seat of his mother's car. Store security video caught the shooting after what detectives say was an argument between the suspect and the mother's boyfriend. The couple took off, not realizing until miles later the child was hit.
This is a clear example of how a bullet has no name on it.
Melvin Farmer is part of the national youth outreach group called Credible Messenger that targets senseless gun violence like this. He tries to work with any of the gangs involved.
I mean, we can't stop everything, but we can decrease it to where another life is not lost.
This child, just an innocent victim in what neighbors described as a turf war. Liquor store clerk Toby Duarte was on break when he heard those gunshots.
I just heard the gunshots, and then I got up if he was okay.
Everybody needs to come get along and stop doing all this tragic. It don't make no sense.
It was sheriff deputies who actually rushed that child from the scene to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. And while the sheriff says this was a gang shooting, Jeff, Melvin Farmer, that activist, told me he believes it was an isolated incident, not gang related, and that it just escalated and possibly even self-defense.
Mark, that man is identified as 29-year-old Dwayne Christopher Ward from the Compton area originally. Now, he surrendered to the East LA Sheriff's Station this afternoon at around 2:30. He's currently under arrest for a parole violation and is being held with no bail at this time. Now, he's looking at charges that would include murder and being a felon in possession of a firearm. When detectives present the case to the district attorney, Ward is suspected of arguing with another man Saturday night in the parking lot of a Compton liquor store and then firing shots at that man as he got into his girlfriend's car. Her 3-year-old son, Franklin Pon-Ros, was in the back seat, and he's the one who was hit with gunfire.
There was a surveillance footage that captured all of the parties involved inside of the liquor store and the actual shooting, which occurred in the parking lot. Investigators identified the suspect. They then began to look in order to locate him and arrange for his arrest.
Detectives say the shooting was gang-related. They don't believe Ward and the other man know each other personally, but know of each other as rivals. Again, he is being held without bail. Charges have not been filed at this point in time in connection with the murder. Detectives are going to be questioning him. There is a GoFundMe page that has been set up for that.
Suspect wanted in the fatal shooting of a 3-year-old boy in Compton 2 months ago is now behind bars. LA County Sheriff's deputies arrested 27-year-old Kevaughn Harris for murder. He's being held on $2 million bail. The family of 3-year-old Franklin Pon-Ros says Harris is the boyfriend of the victim's mom. Harris and the second suspect, Dwayne Ward, are accused of trading gunfire after getting into an argument in a parking lot on January 20th. A stray bullet killed Franklin as he sat in his car seat. Ward turned himself in right after the shooting.
7:45 p.m., the night of January 20th, 2018. The last thing on Kevaughn Harris's mind is that his girlfriend's 3-year-old son, Franklin Pon-Ros, wasn't going to live another 10 to 15 minutes. Kevaughn Harris, a known gang member, born May 20th, 1990 in the city of Compton, was with his girlfriend going to a liquor store, Nate's Liquor Store, Saturday night around 7:45 p.m., located in the 2800 block of West Alondra Boulevard, according to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. As Kevaughn Harris is walking out of the store, he sees another local man by the name of Dwayne Ward, date of birth 3/14/1988. Argument ensues. Disrespect flies both ways. Compton's one of the most famous cities in the United States for gang and criminal activity. Kevaughn Harris attempts to get into the vehicle with his then girlfriend. As they're driving away, it's stated that Kevaughn Harris fires first and Dwayne Ward returns fire. The victims left the location in their vehicle. And a couple minutes down the road, they discovered their young 3-year-old child, Franklin, had suffered a gunshot wound. Franklin's mom, obviously in a panic, flies away from the scene, and she parks near a restaurant in the 17200 block of South Central Avenue in the city of Carson, California. Cops make a split decision to not wait for an ambulance, and they rush him to UCLA Medical Center, where he died of his injuries. You saw in the news story that this was all captured on camera, CCTV footage. And at the time, they put out that the suspect is described as a man driving a dark-colored sedan. and the suspect's vehicle was last seen driving westbound from a location on Alondra Boulevard. Sheriffs initially say that the incident appeared to be gang-related, which it was, and then investigators obtained surveillance footage from the liquor store as an investigation continued. Authorities said they identified the suspect and are speaking with his family and attorney to facilitate a surrender. This was absolutely terrible and senseless. And the reason I did this story is because we see gang members killing each other. But the ones that really have an impact on people and really, for lack of a better word, piss people off is when a child dies. And I want you guys to picture what must be going through his mother's mind when her boyfriend decides to get into an argument with a guy. They're at a liquor store, so I'm assuming both are driving. The Bloods and Crips are the most active gangs down there. I don't know the exact set of which they were each members of, but they were active Bloods, Crips gang members. And I also want you to think about Kevaughn Harris, and as he's thinking and is sitting in his jail cell, and you imagine how many times he's replaying that incident in his head. Did he have to say that last line of disrespect? Did he have to pull his gun? Did he have to fire off some shots? It wasn't his biological child, but I cannot imagine the guilt that goes on in one's mind when that happens. And then you've got Dwayne Ward, gang member. And each guy, that ego comes out, that gang mentality comes out. No one's going to back down. It's not going to be a fight. This is going to be a gunfight. This isn't going to be a fist fight. This is going to be a gunfight. And I can imagine Dwayne Ward also sitting in his jail cell, knowing the life he knew might as well be a million miles away. Because when you kill a 3-year-old and it's all over the news and you piss off the community and you see in the news stories the community growing together, having press conferences, talking, you're booked, man. You're booked. You're not going to get the death penalty because there obviously wasn't intention to kill a 3-year-old, but you're never going to see the light of day again. So this happened January 20th of 2018. Like we always talk about in my videos, the court system, the legal system has a long, winding time frame that takes forever. We fast forward to February 26th, 2021. Both men sentenced to life in prison for the killing of Franklin. Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon announced that the two men were sentenced today for the murder of a 3-year-old boy during a shootout in a Compton liquor store parking lot in 2018. Quote, "The pain caused by the loss of a young child is unimaginable, more so when it's caused by senseless violence," District Attorney George Gascon said. He goes on to say, "Today's life sentence will ensure these men will never hurt another innocent victim again." End quote. Ward and Harris were both found guilty in December 2019 of 1 count each of second-degree murder, firing at an occupied motor vehicle, felon with possession of a firearm, and attempted murder. On January 20th, 2018, Kevaughn Harris was walking toward a car parked outside a liquor store, and that baby was sitting in that vehicle. And what gets me is Kevaughn Harris knows that. Not that Dwayne Ward is any less in the wrong, but I don't think he knew that there was a 3-year-old in the back of the vehicle. Kevaughn Harris did. Both men pulled out handguns. Franklin, who was sitting in the back seat of the vehicle, was fatally shot. The girlfriend was not injured. But I did read that Harris was actually the one that fired first, knowing there's a 3-year-old in the back of the vehicle. And that will never, ever not just baffle me. Or at least say, hey, you want to have it out? We can have it out. Let's get down physically, right? But there's a 3-year-old, man. I don't know if that would have done anything. Sad all the way around. Greenlit Gang TV. Peace.